We are ready for takeoff. Again, thank you for inviting me. I'm always honored to be invited, and I always enjoy the coffee time afterwards. And so I'll be staying on for that. And I'd like to provide some of my personal information. My website is paulhasselbeck.com. My metaphysical romp is found at metaphysicalromp2.com. And my email address is at alberthasselbeck@gmail.com. You might want to take a picture of that or even have your phone ready to take a picture of my slides. And I will be sharing the slides and a PDF of them, I guess, with Barbara. And then everyone will know who they can contact to get it. All right. So this talk is triumphant, and I love the minions. I hope you do too. They're the little rascals, And it wouldn't be a minion talk if I didn't go, because they do that a lot. So let's get romping. Here's a roadmap. I'm going to review some fundamental concepts. Most of you know I usually start with a little bit of review to have a foundation, and I never know who's listening for the first time. And then we're going to move into radical self-responsibility and how we do that with faith, strength, and dominion. So a theme I've been working with this year is make this year different by making it all the same. And what I mean by that is when I was not aware of my innate divinity, I thought I had to be different for every situation, that there had to be kind of a unique me when I responded. And so that's why my previous years, I was a different me a lot of the time. But the way we make this year different by making it all the same is to make the starting point our innate divinity. And so I would want to remind you of this saying from the Gospel of Thomas. This is the second one, because sometimes I say things that are shocking. Jesus said, "Let one who seeks not stop seeking until that person finds. And upon finding, the person will be disturbed. And being disturbed will be astounded and will reign over the entirety." I know you've heard the saying, and I'm going to use it in a minute, but Jesus said, "You must know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." And usually when we're talking about that, we're talking about a truth that doesn't really involve ourselves. However, recently I found this really great quote from some of Charles' unpublished materials, the references there. Jesus said that quote, and Charles shared it. Jesus said, "You must know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." And then he says, "the truth about yourself." And that has been a major focus of my teaching. So Eric Butterworth said, Jesus did not come here to tell us of his divinity. His whole mission was to help us to know of our own divinity. And it is our own divinity and our knowledge of it that we can use to set ourselves free. And so this is a little review. So in the writings, you can find that divine mind is a synonym for God, is a synonym for principle, and principle is a synonym for the I am. And we can find the definition of the I am as our spiritual self. So what does that mean? That means my spiritual self and your spiritual self is God or principle or mind. And Charles said this about that: "Yet there is but one I am. It cannot be cut into parts. It is principle." So you don't have a drop of the divine. You're not a wave in the divine. You are the divine. And Myrtle said this: "God is it, neither male nor female, but principle." So that was a primary word that I think Myrtle thought about when she was writing to the people who wrote to her, but she was writing to meet them at the point of her perceived need. And when I read Myrtle Fillmore, I always replace the word God with principle. And if it works, I know she's in one line of thinking, and if it doesn't work, that tells me she's probably in another line of thinking. And remember, God is not a being, God is not he, God is not him, God is not her. And so our dominion, your dominion, my dominion, is over our own thoughts, emotions, and passions. And so you and I have absolute power over our own thoughts and feelings. Now, when I say thoughts, I mean thoughts, ideas, beliefs, and images. And when I say feelings, I say feelings, emotions, perceptions, experiences, and attitudes. Now, it may not seem like we do, but we do. And then Charles said in Keep It True Lent that prayer makes each of us a master in the realm of divine ideas. So we are the master of our thoughts and feelings and divine ideas. And by the way, a synonym for divine idea is principle. So prayer makes each of us master in the realm of principle, or the realm of the I am, or the realm of the divine mind. And so let's talk about this in terms of radical self-responsibility. So what is it, and what about radical self-responsibility? Well, some people like to divide the word into response, ability, having the ability to respond, that is much better than reaction. And so it's radical because we are the only ones that are responsible, and we have to be fully present to do it. So as I talk about this, I know there's a lot of things going around in the New Thought movement and New Age, and that we are responsible for everything that happens to us. And I'm here to tell you, we are not responsible for everything that happens to us and around us. You and I are not responsible for COVID. The people in the towers at 9/11 were not responsible for the people flying into it. You and I are not responsible for a lot of the events that we're involved in. But you can create events in your consciousness and then make them happen. Those you are responsible for. And we are 100%, this is radical self-responsibility, we are 100% responsible for our thoughts, ideas, beliefs, images, feelings, emotions, experiences, perceptions, and attitudes, which then can lead to behaviors. And so we are 100% responsible for those. No one else is. No one causes you to think anything. No one causes you to feel anything. Those are made by each of us based on our current level of consciousness and whatever our belief system is. And so here's a quick summary. We are responsible for our thoughts, ideas, beliefs, images, feelings, emotions, experiences, attitudes, behaviors, and actions. So it's not selfish, it's self-full, and it includes helping others. So a lot of people think unity is all about gazing at our navel. It's all about myself. I don't have any other responsibilities. The truth is, when we learn to be more or less self-actualized, when we come in contact with our divinity, this is not narcissistic. In fact, it's self-full, and it includes helping others. Now, here's a great quote from Myrtle Fillmore. As you help others spiritually and in every way, you not only fulfill the law of giving and receiving, you develop your own resources and capabilities in fuller measure. And I share this because for the longest time, Unity churches were not into service to the community or helping others in any way. And I share this so you know that it was within the framework of the Unity teachings. It just got lost somewhere along the way. And so it's about accountability, answerability, that we're being accountable. So I am accountable for the way I show up. I am accountable for the way I behave. And it's about being authentic. So we're not showing up as a shallow self, but we're showing up in the awareness as completely as we can of our wholeness. And so we are fully divine. We are fully human. Now, let me talk about that a little bit. I am fully divine, but I don't know the fullness of my divinity. I'm learning about that. I hope you're learning about that. That's why I talk about principles and laws. I'm also not fully aware of my humanity. I'm not aware of the fullness of humanity. This is why each of us shows up uniquely. Each of us is wonderfully distinct. In our divinity, we are identical because the divine is everywhere, totally present. There's no spot where God is not. And so that divinity that lies back of you, lies back of me, lies back of everything, lies back of this cup is identical. And the fullness of it is present, but we're not aware of the fullness of it. And being authentic is about being true, reliable, dependable, faithful, trustworthy, and genuine. And of course, we want to do it all with integrity. And about being authentic is we have to be willing to be vulnerable. When we grow up, a lot of us learn to hide things about ourselves. We put up walls, emotional and real ones. But when we grow into adults and we realize about the importance of being authentic and being in integrity, it's important that we practice something that I learned from A Course in Miracles. It's in our vulnerability, my safety lies. And so when I realized I was gay, and then I was diagnosed with HIV, I spent many years hiding that from a lot of important people in my life. And so I wasn't being integrous with my relationships with them. And there were areas of life where I couldn't be authentic. I thought I couldn't be authentic. I was protecting myself because I was afraid if people learned these things about me, they wouldn't like me or love me and go away. However, I started practicing this in my vulnerability lies, in my vulnerability safety lies. I realized that when I shared authentically about myself, sure, there were people that went away. That's okay. But I was welcomed with such warmth that I realized I no longer had to protect myself. And let me tell you, I lived in a kind of prison or jail of my own making in my consciousness, trying to protect myself and hide. And so integrity is about honesty, truthfulness, honor, reliability, and uprightness. And so it's important to remind you that, yes, the 12 powers are involved in this process. The 12 powers is involved in every aspect of our life. Or rather, I should say, I'm either consciously or unconsciously involving the 12 powers. So here's some basic ideas about the 12 powers. Everyone has them, whether conscious of them or not. Everyone is always using them. They do not care how they are used. They can be overdeveloped or underdeveloped, and they can be used at any level. level of consciousness. So it's important that we be aware, for example, of our level of consciousness, because that's the level from which we're going to be using a power. So if I'm coming from a victim level of consciousness, if I'm in a victim level of consciousness, I would be using my power of faith to believe that's the truth. And I will be using that lens to see everything that way. And an example of they can be overdeveloped or underdeveloped. The one I like to use is the power of order. When it's underdeveloped in me, my house is a mess. And when it's overdeveloped, I am OCD. Everything has its place and everything has to be in its place perfectly. And in fact, as we were preparing for this talk, there was a little bit of that, because there was a perfect circular round bright light coming through here, and I had to figure out where it was coming from and how to stop it, because I wanted everything to look perfect for you this morning. So that's overdeveloped and underdeveloped. Okay, so these three powers are involved in radical self-responsibility and making this year different by making it all the same. Now, you see, I have those three powers prominent on the screen, but the other ones, life, order, love, understanding, elimination, will, imagination, zeal, and discernment, are still involved. But I don't know about you, tracking 12 at the same time is really hard. So like 3 is my max. So we have to be strong in our radical self-responsibility. And we use dominion to have mastery and control over our thoughts, ideas, beliefs, images, feelings, emotions, perceptions, and attitudes and behaviors. We need that power of dominion. And we have to have faith. We have to believe it's possible. And in a way, we have to believe that we can use strength. We have to believe we can use dominion. And so we use these powers not only to be authentic and radical self-responsibility, we use them to be triumphant, self-triumphant, not triumphant over others. That's a misuse, but self-triumphant. And you see, when we have our normal capacities, we can do that. But I need to mention that children do not have full mental capacity, so they need help by adults for their responsibility. Older adults maybe need help.
Yes.
And those people who are on drugs or on various illegal medicine, illegal drugs or alcohol and all those, we can't expect them to have radical self-responsibility. So one of the ways we can be in service to them is to help them. And so I hope you see now that there are ways to make this year different by making it all the same. I'm making it all the same by seeing it all the same through the lens of my divinity, through the lens of the highest consciousness I can put together. And then, friends, this is how we are triumphant. I hope as you go away from this lesson this morning, you will know that you are fully divine and fully human. You have it within you to be triumphant over your thoughts, ideas, beliefs, images, feelings, emotions, perceptions, experiences, attitudes, and yes, then your behaviors. You are the master of your divinity as divine ideas, and you are master of your thoughts and feelings. Thank you for listening.